What's going on YouTube? Caster Kenny here, and we are going to be talking about the 15-0 challenge this weekend. Whether you're a free-to-play player, a pay-to-win player, a new player, an old player, a great player, a low-tier player, I've got you covered. All sorts of brawler combinations coming up, the best brawlers, the best combinations for all 5 of the maps you're going to be taking on this weekend for the championship challenge. If you like the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. I work really hard to make these videos possible, and with that being said, let's hop into it and show off all the amazing combinations that you all could run this weekend. All right, to kick things off, map number 1 going to be a shooting star. This is normally a super mechanical map and definitely requires a lot of high skill, but we get it out of the way first off the board, so that could be a good thing for a lot of you all. I'm going to recommend Eve, Nani, and Tick. Tick, a very common pick on this map for the Power League format, but also I think you can just establish a lot of control, especially if you can take advantage of that mid wall on your side, or even press forward if you got a little more aggressive positioning onto the enemy side. Nani going to be super good here to deal with a lot of different brawlers, but especially Piper, who's going to be a really common pick on this map. Nani does great in the sharpshooters overall, and definitely one that I recommend using. It is the most banned brawler in the world on this map, and Eve honestly is probably the best brawler in the game to me right now. I think Eve's absolutely insane. The new star power kicking into is going to be really good. I just think if you can have Eve, you take her. For all my free-to-play players out there, if you just need some lower tier brawlers that aren't as rare, Piper, Brock, Tick, that's the direction I would go. Tick, similar role as we mentioned before. Piper, of course, a great long-range option on this map, a very common pick as well, and with that gadget you can really secure some extra kills here. And Brock to establish a little more control by opening up the map if you're facing off against something like Tick or Sprout, who are going to be throwers at a disadvantage if you open up that map a little bit. Some other alternatives too: Jean's a very safe option. Byron, if you're comfortable with it, is a great brawler overall. Bell, somebody that's a great long-range brawler that can be super solid on this map. And again, Sprout is the other thrower I would consider taking. It's more of a personal preference. I just think Tick's a little bit easier to play than a Sprout for most people. All right, hopping into map number 2. This is one of my favorite maps in the entire game. It is Super Stadium, a brawl ball map for set number 2. And for this one, I'm going to go with Eve, Spike, and Sandy. Although I want to give a huge shout out to Gale here, who's a super solid brawler. Overall, can have a lot of coverage against tanks. When I'm kind of debating what brawlers I want to use, I feel like, you know, Gale and Sandy are kind of in the same range for me, but Sandy's a little bit easier to play, so that's just the one I'm going to recommend more often, because I think for the most players, they're going to be able to play a better Sandy than they will a Gale. But I do think Gale, this is one of his best maps. The twister can be great for defense. The stun for 1.5 seconds is huge. So if you're a good Gale, I think it's certainly something to consider here. Eve, again, going to be the best mid. Just because she's so strong right now. Spike going to be a great lane option, as it has been forever now. That carried over into the Power League format too, but Spike with the life plant going to do really well against a lot of different brawlers. Just a very solid option overall, and at this level, curveball is something that more new players or maybe not as high tier players are going to struggle into. So I think overall those are very safe options. Byron Ash is something I want to give a shout to as well. I think Byron and Ash is a great synergy. Ash, if you're good with it, can do really well. Very powerful. The extra rage, the gadget, the speed with the speed gear, it can all add up so quickly, and it can be very difficult to take it down. And of course, Byron is going to be the best candidate to keep giving him that aggression and allow him to keep pushing forward with the heals. For all my free-to-play players out there, B, M's, Barley, that's where I would go with this. I think B's a very solid mid overall in this map anyways, does really well to prevent any tanks getting into play, and also is just commonly used in the blind format in the past. Barley going to be a super solid option too, very slept on one, especially in the blind format. This is something that we really only see as a 6th pick on this map, just because it's easily counterable, but remember, it's blind going into this. There's no Power League style matches, so I think Barley certainly works here, and M's a very safe option, one that's very commonly picked on this map too at a competitive level, and one that I feel like a lot of players can just use in general. Shout out to, you know, Max and Ruffs, so you want to use them too. Ruff's very common pick on this map, and Max combos can certainly work too if you're confident in it. And now we'll move on to the next one. Now we are on to map number 3. It is Flaring Phoenix. Now this is a knockout map. This is likely the one that a lot of you all out there are going to be the most unfamiliar with, so let's make sure we get some good combos. This is a little bit of a more complicated one to make work, but I think Byron, Fang, and Tick is so good here if you can do it. If you're confident, Byron, it's a great overall brawler right now. I love having a thrower on this map just for some extra control, and Tick's my brawler of choice, and also just a little bit easier to play than Sprout, but Sprout definitely works here too. And Fang, arguably one of the best brawlers in the game right now. That's super if you can can chain it right is so good, especially in a knockout format where you're getting the heals from the Byron. You can play it a little passive aggressive off the beginning, make sure you get Fang that super, and as the storm starts to close, you can really charge forward. But there are other plenty of good brawlers too. Eve gonna be an insane option too if you want to run Eve. I don't blame you at all. She's just so good right now. Belle gonna be a solid mid-range option in long range in the mid or in the lanes, honestly, too, depending on what they've got. Leon, Jean, very common picks on this map. Pam, honestly, a very solid one too. And if you're a free-to-play player, Tick, Piper, Brock. That's the direction I'm going to go. It's the same thing as we have for Bounty, but I think it works here too. You get a lot of control with the Tick, long range opportunities with Piper. The gadget again can secure you some much needed kills, and Brock going to open up the map if you are facing against common picks like Sprout and Tick on this map. That's where I would go. Let's hop into the next map. All right, map number 4 is going to be a double swoosh, and this one can be a little bit tricky to navigate. This is one that a lot of newer players will kind of struggle with, and where you can really start taking some losses. I'm gonna go with Eve, Crow, and Spike. Again, I just think Eve is so good right now. If you can have Eve, take it. But I will give a big shout out to Mr. P here. If Eve didn't exist, or if there were bans, I would take Mr. P in the mid here. I think it's gonna do really solid in the blind format. It already does really well in Power League kind of format right now, but I expect to see a lot of Jean here. I think that's what most people are going to roll with, just because Jean's not the most difficult brawler in the world. A lot of people are going to think to use the pull, and Jean's just been an established brawler in this map for a long time, but Mr. P hard counters that and does pretty well into a lot of the lane options on this map. So if you're comfortable with Mr. P, you could even throw him in a lane option if you want to, but I went with Spike just because he's pretty easy to play right now. Very solid option on this map, and Crow is one that I think is super solid. You can scout out the grass. If they go with a Byron or a Pam, which are some common picks on this map, you have ways to siphon off some of the heals that those brawlers will get. The poison's going to help out, and if they get something cheeky like a Max Jean combo, you got the slowdown as an extra utility in your back pocket. Additionally, Crow can just kind of lunge onto whoever he wants when he is a super, can take down gym carriers, and play a great passive aggressive blend that helps with any team. Some other brawlers that certainly work here too: Sandy, Jean, like I mentioned already, Tara going to be a good option, another game-changing super as well that can help you do some good work, and Amber, if you can play on that right-hand side to break open some of that grass, is going to do really awesome. For free-to-play players, had to get a little creative with this one, but I went with Jessie, Ems, and Pam. Those are going to be some low-rarity brawlers that you can get. Pam's the only one that's purple there. Ems, very common brawler in this map too, solid lane option, very safe, easy to play. Jessie going to do great. Make sure you get that turret down on those mid walls. Keep shooting shots at it. Make sure you use the star power that regenerates the health of the turret. And Pam, a very slept on lane option here just in general, but very versatile. You can use the healing station to help out your teammates, apply some pressure, can play the mid or the lane as a gym carrier, and kind of wreak havoc however you want. So free to play players, that's the one I would use if I were you all. All right, if you've made it this far, we're on the final map. It's Ring of Fire, and this is where everything starts to add up. If you've got a bunch of losses, things can get tough, so we're going to try and give you all the best composition to make sure you can make it out of here with 15 wins. I would go with Eve, Fang, and Spike. Eve and Fang are just two of the best brawlers. If you have that option, I just recommend taking it, especially in a blind format like this. You know, other sides aren't going to show mercy if they have it as a brawler choice. You know, Eve and Fang aren't the most used brawlers here, but that's often because they're banned. They're just going to be so good right now, though. I think it's great choices. Spike, another very safe option, and one if you can get really aggressive into the bushes, can work just like Fang. You can apply a lot of pressure. He can work in just about any direction. You can put him in the mid to help out Eve, or you can have him be the brawler that enters the enemy grass and just keeps constant pressure on the other side. Pam, Rico, and Ruffs is going to be the free-to-play comp I recommend. I think Pam is a super solid option here. Just in general, wouldn't fault anyone for using it. Rico, a very slept-on lane. That's an easy brawler to unlock. And Colonel Ruffs can power up teammates, do some wall break damage depending on the brawler combinations you're facing. Overall, I just really like this safe defensive combo with a little aggression flared in there with Rico. Other brawlers that I really like: Crow, going to be once again somebody that I love in this wide open single hot zone kind of map. Does super well. Byron is a safe choice. If you're a really good Meg, go with Meg. I wouldn't do that though unless you're super confident, but Meg can be a sneaky choice here as a super solid option. Stu, another one that I would recommend only if you're really confident with it. Belle, going to be a very safe sharpshooter brawler, and that is what I'm going to recommend for this championship challenge. All right, crew, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Let me know down below what brawlers you all end up using, or if you have any brawlers that I missed out on that maybe you feel like deserve a shout. There's so many great options, and again, this is a little bit different than the Power League and Power Match format, so there are opportunities for new brawlers to kind of come in the mix here. Let me know down below how you all do. I believe in you. I'm sure you all will do great, and we'll see you all in the next one. Peace.